Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about 2018 Den of Thieves movie. This content contains major spoilers for Den of Thieves. All right, this is a 3 out of 5 star movie. I very much enjoyed this movie, but it did have some problems. So let's talk about it. All right, so one, I want to talk about just what is this movie. Well, I'll tell you right now in 2 words. This is 2018 Heat. All right, so the movie with Val Kilmer, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, right? Classic crime film, right? Cops versus robbers film, cops versus criminals film. Heat is a classic, right? This movie is 2018 told now. This movie is Heat told now. That's exactly what this movie is, all right? I love Heat. Heat's a classic, right? All right. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the people who are in it. Den of Thieves has an absolutely fantastic cast. O'Shea Jackson Jr. That is Ice Cube's son. He does a really good job in this movie. Really, great acting. Really well. Fantastic performance. Okay. Another fantastic performance is Gerard Butler. I'm a big fan of Gerard Butler. I like his movies. I think he has a tough time of it. He's cast as a leading man very frequently, but a lot of times he doesn't get the biggest roles. He ends up in a lot of movies. You get the idea that he takes, you get the idea that maybe John Hamm read for this and didn't get it, you always get the idea that he was the second or third pick, and I really like him. I think he's really talented. He does a great job in this movie from an acting perspective, right? He's really fantastic in this film. I'm a big Gerard Butler fan. I think he's underrated, and I wish he was more successful I wish he had a better team. I wish he was more successful in landing better roles. But this vehicle uses him well with a few problems that we'll talk about. But Gerard Butler does a really good job here. Okay, from an acting perspective. I would say, 50 Cent. Great job. I really liked him in this movie. I thought he did a great job. I'm aware of 50 Cent in the rap game. I never was that big of a fan of his music. He does a great job in this film. He's very believable. He's on the criminal side. He has a fantastic death scene. He's one of the best death scene I've ever seen in any action movie ever. Really well done. I really liked it. 50 Cent was great. Who else is in this? Oh, and then Paul Schreiber. Paul Schreiber is in this movie. He's Ray Schreiber's half-brother, right? And you've probably seen him done a lot of television, done a lot of movies. He's a working actor. I think he has a standout performance in this. He has a subtle performance in this. He plays a Marine who's the head of a criminal crew, and he is fantastic in this movie. I really would like, after seeing him in this film, I would like to see him in other films. I really think he did a great job with this. He reminds me a lot of Ed Norton, and Ed Norton is my favorite actor. And so another guy who just an amazing actor. Probably didn't land all the roles I would have liked to see him land, but Paul Schreiber, fantastic job in this film. So let's talk about the production of this. It's a $30 million movie. They did a lot with that $30 million. A lot. It was extremely well done. Sorry I didn't catch who directed it, but it is extremely well directed, and it looks like a $60 or $90 million movie to me. They used every penny of that $30 million shows up on the screen. It's really well done. All right, so that's all the actors that I could really call out that I knew. The acting is fantastic. Everything in this movie, every single thing is fantastic in this movie except the script. The script has a lot of problems. All right, so by the way, I want to talk a little bit more just about what it is and why I went to see it. So this is an action movie. Okay, it is a crime now movie. That's what I loved about this movie, and that's what I loved about Heat. Is they're so Heat it's a crime now. What I mean by that is you are going to take a highly competent cop crew, and a highly competent criminal crew. You're going to get to see both of how they do their jobs with all the modern technology, right? So you see AR-15s throughout this movie. There's like a 50 caliber machine gun in this movie. And then there's cell phones all over this movie. They show how you get to see the robbery of an armed car, the robbery of a bank, right? And you see how a professional criminal crew would approach that. And then you see how a cop crew would approach finding the crew that did that, right? It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Really, really well done. It's a great structure. This really is 2018 Heat, right? And that's a good foundation, 2018 Heat, right? So this thing's moving along, right? And like gas masks, like show how they use cell phones, show how criminals have to deal with cell phones. And I will tell you right now, I love the idea of a crime now movie, right? Yeah, and I already did say that's another aspect of this film. This is a highly competent cop crew, highly competent criminal crew. That's, it's a procedural, but it's a procedural on both sides, on the criminal and the cop, right? And so it's really, really, it's got a great structure, okay? All right, so all of that is in place. And one thing that this movie really made me think a lot. One of the things that really made me think about is it is hard being a criminal nowadays, right? I mean, I'm talking difficult, right? Like really, really challenging. And the thing is, cell phones have made it outrageously difficult, and all the ubiquitous cameras everywhere, right? And the police's ability to use technology to capture criminals has made it immensely difficult for criminals to do their job. Now, I'm a patriot. I'm a Christian. I'm a husband and a father. So that's great. I love that, right? Like I enjoy watching movies about criminals, but I do not like crime being, very easy in real life. And I will tell you right now, it seems like now, actually, let me put it this way. I think you can get away with petty crime pretty easy nowadays. But if you're trying to take more than 10 grand from anybody, you're going to have a very, 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 very hard time doing it. And, they've always, I've always heard every day of my life, crime don't pay. That is more true than ever. You watch this film, you're like, why on earth would anyone go into crime today, right? Like, you'd have to be out of your mind, right? And so, it really does a great job of showing you like what a super high-end criminal crew would do. But when you see all the stuff they have to go through, how hard they have to get to work that money, you're like, this is crazy. No, being a criminal is such a bad idea, right? And the reason why is the skill sets you need to be a competent criminal today are so demanding and so high that it makes you wonder why on earth you would possibly do it, right? And the reason why is with those same skill sets, you go out and make a really, really good, decent living in the real world, in the legal market, right? So this movie actually made me feel sorry for criminals because, man, if you're trying to steal more than 10 grand, you're done. You are done nowadays, right? There's just too many ways they're going to catch you, right? And you can't go on the run the way you used to. You can't do anything the way you used to. So, one, I think that's really cool because this movie really showed me our world is even safer than I thought it was, right? And I already knew that, things were just getting safer and safer. The other thing is I really liked seeing how the equipment worked in this movie, right? Like, they show some fantastic run and gun combat in this. Like, you're just seeing people firing, fully automatic weapons at each other. And then the other thing that you get to see is just how powerful body armor is, right? And how much body armor has changed modern combat, right? And body armor is an incredibly important tool. Every competent criminal is going to have body armor, and police have to deal with body armor. And then the other thing is, that's the other thing is, cops, when they come loaded for bear, they're going to be wearing body armor. If you don't have body armor, you're done. You are done. The only way there can be, any type of combat between, criminals and cops at this point is if everybody involved's got body armor. And body armor is not cheap. It's not easy to get. You know what I mean? Like, so I was amazed at, it was really cool watching this movie because, you got to see a crime now movie, which is, hey, this is what crime looks like today, right? Right now, I'm telling you, man, if you're out there, study hard, get your college degree, become a knowledge worker, because there is jack all of no money in crime. None. Period. Right? You'd have to be out of your mind to go into crime today. Right? It's bad idea. Right? So, and I thought that was really interesting. That was a really interesting aspect of the movie. Right? So, now, let's talk about some of the problems of this movie. From an action perspective, this is like, I would love to give this movie a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it as an action movie. Like the run and gun combat, just the crime now aspects, the highly competent criminal crew, the highly competent cop crew, all that is fantastic. Here's the problem. The tropes. The tropes are really, really bad in this, okay? And then also, the not realizing what year it is, right? The writer of this really did a bad job in 2 distinct ways, okay? And all the problems in the movie rest on Gerard Butler, okay? In that, Gerard Butler's character. Gerard Butler does a fantastic job with the acting, right? His character is incredibly poorly written, right? Incredibly poorly written. His character's name is Nick. But anyway, so Gerard Butler's character in the movie, he is a cop, he's a lieutenant police officer, okay? A cop. And he has a crew, right? He has a police gang, right? And so these guys are like, hey, we don't like paperwork, so if we get a criminal and we know he's guilty and we know that the court system is just going to let him go, we kill him, right? We just shoot him and throw him in a ditch, right? They beat up, there's a scene where O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character is captured by the police officers, right? By the cops. They put him into the back of a car and they need some information, and like 4 guys just beat the living crap out of him to get the information, right? So you're telling me this is a dirty cop, right? You can't beat a criminal for information. That's not, that is against the rules. That makes you a dirty cop, right? So here we're seeing, I want to see a movie about a highly competent cop crew. I don't want to see a movie about a dirty cop. And I'll tell you right now, I don't think Hollywood has figured this out. You cannot do a movie about a dirty cop anymore. You couldn't do The Shield today, right? Because back in the day, the reason why you could get away with that is I think there was a general understanding within the public, and I'm not sure if this was true, right? I'm not sure. I think the public may have been misunderstanding it, but there was an understanding, there was a belief system within the public that the criminals do what they can to get away with whatever they can get away with, and they have incredible resources. And the cops are straining with very little resources to catch them, right? That was the 80s and the 90s. That is completely gone, right? American police officers, everything I'm saying is about America. American police officers are armed like the military now, right? They have incredible resources that they can bring to bear against criminals. And criminals now, in my opinion, are clearly outgunned, right? They're outmaneuvered at virtually every single step, right? And so that's the issue, is the power has shifted from cops doing what they can to catch the police, to catch the criminals with very limited resources, to the criminals being outgunned and doing what they can to get away with whatever they're going to get away with very little resources. And so, basically it used to be, oh, well, I'm going to bend the rules in order to get this thing done that there's no other possible way to do. But now with all the resources, the police have tons of ways to do whatever they need to do. Now, looking back, it makes it very clear that we probably should have never had any tolerance for, actually, I don't want to say, well, that's the problem. In this movie, Gerard Butler's character is not a mischievous cop. It's not a cop that bends the rules. He's a pure, flat-out dirty cop, period, right? And so that's the other thing is, I think, like John McClane, in Die Hard is kind of like I would say, a mischievous cop, a cop that bends the rules, right? But I don't think there's ever a point where you thought, oh, he's a dirty cop, like he takes $100,000 from a dope pusher, that kind of thing. So there's a line there, right? And I think that's just it, is I can't believe that whoever wrote this movie doesn't understand you cannot tell a story about a dirty cop today, or even a cop that bends the rules today. There's absolutely no tolerance for that, and nor should there be. And the reason why is the power has shifted, and we have seen every day we're looking at, stories online where it's saying, hey, police officers have an incredible amount of power and they have to be incredibly careful and judicious about how they use that power, right? We're just not in the times where you're like, oh, that police officer bent the rules, how cute that is. We're like, oh my gosh, that's horrifying, and we need to make sure that this goes away in our society forever, right? And so if you have an action movie, your protagonist, the cop, is going to be a hero. Well, you can't put forward a hero who's a dirty cop. That's ridiculous, right? And so, Gerard Butler's character is 100% unlikable in this movie. He's a dirty cop. That makes me not like him. The other thing is they show the start of his divorce. He gets divorced in this film, right? He's a bad husband, bad father, bad cop. Why are you putting him in front of me as a protagonist? I'm not going to see. So there's no hero in this movie. This is a movie about villains versus villains. What the heck? Like, that's not cool, right? In my opinion, right? That, and so one of the things that this movie shows just to me is how much the world has changed, and, and how really you have to tell stories in a different way now. I'm shocked that Hollywood doesn't understand. You absolutely cannot tell stories about a dirty cop. You can't even tell a story about a cop that bends the rules anymore, right? Because no one should have tolerance for that anymore. We realize that, the power we give to police officers is immense, and they must be incredibly judicious of it. They must be respectful of the rules. All those kind of stories, you can just swipe them off the board. You cannot tell them anymore. You cannot tell them, right? And so, so that was really interesting, showing me. The other thing is like, showing, being a cop, it's hard on your marriage. That's just so done. Like, I've just seen it in so many movies. And, like, we just need a quicker way to show this. I mean, if you want to show... And the other issue is, I really feel bad for Hollywood at this point because, I'm an evangelical Christian. You know what I mean? So, to me, heroes are men who are... Actually, people, let's be open about this, right? People who are good spouses, good Christians, good parents, right? That's a hero to me, right? And I get Hollywood doesn't find that compelling. They haven't found that compelling for 30 or 40 years, right? And so, but they got a problem now, right? You can't present villains as heroes anymore because the world, we see every day how horrific villains truly are, right? The days of, that little scamp, those are done, man. Dirty cops are horrendous, like they're a blight on humanity. Like, we cannot tolerate any glorification of them anymore. So Den of Thieves was a really, really fantastic action movie with just a terrible, terrible script. And it's really sad that I really wish Hollywood just realized, don't turn the money faucet off when it comes to the writer. Stop it. Get good writers and tell decent stories. I was really frustrated that this movie was bobbled because I thought it was a really fantastic action film. It's a fantastic crime now film. It's an awesome run and gun action film. It really is a 2018 Heat, but the world is different. You can't tell the story of Heat today. You just can't, right? There can be no tolerance for dirty cops anymore. There can't even be tolerance for cops that bend the rules. The world has changed, and I'm hoping Holly will figure that out. Take care.